Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had free agency and started up the season simulation, and so far so good with this team. We are 29-9-3, which is fantastic to see at the halfway point of the year. We're also 9-0-1 in our last 10 games, so this team has been trending in the right direction. The one thing that has been a bit of an issue this season, though, for us, as you can see, is our power play percentage, which is 20th in the league. So hopefully that kind of settles itself out as the season goes on still. But for the most part, I've been really happy with everything because we're top 10 goals for. We are second best defensive team in the NHL. We're good on the penalty kill as well. So as long as things continue this trajectory, we should obviously be a playoff team. I think playoffs are a given, but I'm not too sure, obviously, still how long of a playoff team this team will be for, because sometimes we have really good season simulations, but then it means nothing in the playoffs. So I'm really hoping that this team could obviously go far this year in the postseason. So we are probably going to still have to make some adjustments in this episode, though, because I do think we need to find a way to get some guys more ice time, because that's the one issue we have with this team right now is, for instance, Ellington, who is on the fourth line. He's actually listed as a third line scoring forward. Obviously, you can't see his morale here anymore because for some reason, once you exit the mode, it just completely wipes the log. But he was losing, losing morale due to ice time, and Nielikainen was as well. So the plan in this episode is to probably get Nielikainen onto this next power play unit, which we could already go ahead and do because there was no comments in last episode. So we will go to this second power play unit here. And we're probably going to take one of these defensemen off the power play unit. I'm not too sure which one. Schaefer's got 1 goal and 13 points. Holmstrom only has 12, which is not ideal. 2 power play points for Holmstrom. How about for Schaefer? How much power play points does he have? 2 as well. I think we probably should keep the offensive defenseman on there. So we'll probably take Schaefer off this unit, and we will give Nielikainen some power play time because he was originally on the power play at one point. I think this will at least help him a little bit. Maybe helps out our power play unit as well, because our power play, like I said, has been one thing that struggled a bit. So by giving Nielikainen some power play time, maybe that helps things off a little bit with that second unit. But in order to get Ellington more ice time, the only thing we could really do is move him up and move Biggers down to the fourth line, which Biggers is also listed as a third line scoring forward. So I think the plan is probably in this episode to trade away Ellington, and then basically we could call up from the AHL Jarvis, or we could even call up Kazanov to be on that fourth line potentially. Now, Jarvis could just be a depth option too, because there is a chance that we just want to play Riley Haley, because he's come in and been a very good depth forward for us. So we might want to play Haley full-time as a fourth line kind of guy on this team. So I think the plan right now is to trade Ellington, and then we probably call up Jarvis as a depth option because he's still listed as a depth forward. That way he won't complain. The AHL will go through a little bit of change with that, but it does give an opportunity to maybe Mishenko to jump to that top line and play next to Kazanov, because we could easily go something like this for our top line of Mishenko, Prince, and Kazanov, and it's still our top prospects basically on that line for the most part. We could move some other guys up and stuff like that too, but Jarvis getting called up is something that probably should happen because we did re-sign him in the offseason to a 1-year deal at 1.9, so I think he should probably be in our NHL team, so that's probably where also we want to make that move with Ellington in this episode. So we'll probably trade away Ellington, even though he's not been a bad player for us. He's got 10 points so far in 41 games. It's just more of the fact that also he's not a defensive player, really. Like, he's got okay defensive stats, but he's nothing crazy. And we kind of need to have better defensive players on our fourth line, maybe going forward. So by moving away Ellington, and then, like I said, we could call up the other guy from the AHL. I think that will at least give us a bit better of a defensive option for that fourth line while we wait for Ragnarsson to return from his injury that he got in last episode. Now, Sundin could also technically play in the lineup, but he's also listed as a depth forward, and I don't know if he's going to really grow much more, so we'll see if we end up playing him instead of Jarvis on that fourth line, or instead of Haley on that fourth line, but we do have options, which is good to see. Like I said, Haley's a very good offensive player, but I don't know if I would play him on a fourth line role. So right now, maybe he's just the perfect depth option, but he might complain a little bit as the season goes on. So let's go ahead and make a trade with Ellington and see where we could send him. Obviously, he's a good player and all that, and kind of weird to trade away a player when your team is doing so well. But at the same time, I just think it could be a little bit of a liability for our team in the playoffs. So let's go find trade and see what teams throw at us for Ellington. We might just trade him, honestly, for draft picks or something like that, but He's not much of anything. He's also signed for an extra year on top of this, so I would prioritize holding on to Neil Kynan a little bit over him. So Ellington, what could we get for him? Woolley in a 7th. I don't really want a roster player back, to be honest. 2 7th round picks. See, he's not got much value anyways, too, so let's see. Is there anything higher than 2 7th rounders? A 5th and a 7th from the Chicago Blackhawks isn't too bad. A 3rd rounder from Dallas and a low bottom 6. Damn, Dallas is willing to give us a 3rd round pick. We already have their 1st round pick this year because of the Frundell deal. That's kind of insane that they'd be willing to give a 3rd. A 4th from Detroit. 3rd from Montreal with a low top 9. A 3rd round pick. And then taking on Lamoureux's contract, which I don't need, Maverick Lamoureux. A 3rd rounder straight up. That's probably the deal to take. Just because I don't want to take on a roster player. So I think we're probably going to take that Utah deal because we do like 3rd round picks. So let's send Ellington to Utah, take in a 3rd round pick, and then, like I said, we'll call up Jarvis from the AHL. And we still probably will have just as good as the team. So thank you for your time here, Ellington. It was short-lived, but I just don't think you're the right player for the 4th line. And I know you're going to complain more about your ice time, and your value is just going to get even worse. So might as well capitalize while we have the chance. So there you go. He is sent off to Utah. Some people are going to lose a little bit of morale because of that, but like I said, we don't really need him. So we'll call up Jarvis, considering he's on that one-way deal, and he'll come on up. I was debating about calling up the medium elite we got from the Dallas Stars, but I think giving him a little bit more AHL time is not a huge issue. So let's, by doing that adjustment, let's just go here and put Jarvis on that line. It doesn't really matter if he's not a right wing or left winger. We'll just throw him there for the time being. Is Sundin a left-handed shot? I don't remember. He is, okay. Maybe Sundin in that spot would be okay then to start off with. Yeah, you know what? We'll put Sundin in a spot for the time being. So Sundin could get a couple games in the season as well. And then boom. Once the injuries are done, we'll get obviously the lines back to the way they were with Ragnarsson in that top 6. And then Haley might be the 4th line guy just because he's proven himself to be really useful. But if he's not that good defensively, which I don't remember if he is or not, I guess he's got some okay defensive stats. He could probably play 4th line even though he's a sniper. We'll see. Because I just don't want to have him as a little bit of a liability down there. So, and then obviously we're going to make some adjustments to the AHL lines here as well. So I guess it signed me this guy named Trafford. So we'll throw him in. So that's all good and should be ready to go. This team should be just pretty much as strong after that trade, which is awesome to see. So what's interesting, though, is our next game here coming up on the calendar. You can see we're playing off against the LA Kings, and the LA Kings are a very good team as well. They're actually the best defensive team in the NHL. We're the 2nd best defensive team. So this next game kind of is a little bit of intriguing because it's 2 guys that are up there for the Vezina maybe this season going head-to-head. So hopefully we have a good defensive game against them and maybe get a win, too. Yeah, let's continue simulating for now. I don't know if there's going to be any other trades in this episode. I don't really think so because I don't think this team really needs much in terms of adjustments. So we'll see if we do make any more adjustments as the season goes on. But for right now, I think this team's probably going to stay for the most part the exact same. So let's go through the LA game and just see if we end up winning that one just because it's a pretty good defensive matchup. And are we going to win? No, we lose 4-3. So not the best defensive effort in that game. We do lose to the Kings, but the Kings are also a very good team. So I'm not going to complain too much. All right, let's go to the end of January and see how we're looking like at that point in time. 2nd rounder to Toronto for a 3rd and a guy named Gustafsson. I don't think I need this guy named Gustafsson, but I'm going to take a look at it anyways. It's basically just moving back and around and taking on a roster player, which we probably don't need. Jordan Gustafsson, yeah, at this point, this guy's not really worth anything, so I don't see it being worth moving back a little bit in the draft. New York Rangers. Okay, Ragnarsson's already back from his injury, so that's already good news. So we are going to take Haley obviously out of the lineup for the time being because Haley's going to be playing technically wherever Ragnarsson plays right now. So we'll get Ragnarsson in to that spot. And Haley maybe could play still in the lineup, or I could put somebody else out of the lineup. Now, Ulanow's been actually pretty solid, I would say, too. So how was Sundin in his only game? An assist in 2 games. That's actually pretty solid, too. But I'll take him out of the lineup. And we could either throw Jarvis in, or I could go back to Haley. I'm going to go back to Haley for the time being. But if I see that Haley's plus minus and stuff like that starts being a bit of a factor. Actually, it's already a bit of a factor. Like, he was very good offensively in that top 6 when he was playing, but his plus-minus wasn't very good, so maybe he was just capitalizing on the power play a bit. No, 1 power play point. I'd expect his plus-minus to be a bit better, so maybe his plus-minus isn't a great thing. Maybe I'll keep him scratch. Maybe not. Because all the 3 of these guys are depth options, or listed as depth options, so I think actually, yeah, we'll keep him in the lineup for the time being, but there is a chance that we might take him out at some points if he's a bit of a liability. And it doesn't matter if it's him or Korolyuk that takes the faceoffs, I guess. Both of them are snipers, so I don't know about having 2 snipers on that 4th line. But yeah, definitely come playoff time, Jarvis might be playing over Haley just because of the defensive results and stuff. So let's see what we do anyways in the rest of this month. I have no idea what happened at Rangers game because of the injury, but I would assume it's probably a win, but I honestly don't know. As Andreoff is on waivers. Who is this dude? 77 overall depth defenseman, 28 years of age. Don't have any use for something like this. We are going to decline that because we basically have that with Hagman already. So we do shut out the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is good to see a nice little defensive result. Abney a 4th and Schultz for Levasseur and Lambert. No, thank you. Have no use for roster players almost at this stage because I just got a logjam of prospects coming too. Like, it's kind of hard, but we don't honestly have anything that we need on his team right now, at least that I could see. Crane has been injured with a strained hamstring. Oh boy, that's not great. It's only for like 2 weeks, but still, that's our captain, of course, because we did name him captain in last episode if you didn't realize. And also, he is our thumbnail athlete now, so that's pretty cool. That's a pretty substantial blow, so I am going to go... Actually, I'm trying to think of what I want to do with this. I think we're going to move Cialfito to the top line because it seems like he's been very good right now. So move Cialfito up. I will probably move Ragnarsson there. And I'll move Haley into that top 6 role again. And then we'll put it in on the 4th line spot. We will throw in... We'll throw in Sundin over Jarvis because he's a bit of a younger option. And then in terms of that power play, I'm going to make sure that we do not have Sundin playing on that 1st line power play instead. I don't really want him on that. This is going to be where Ragnarsson goes in for the time being for 2 weeks. And then Sundin will go right where Ragnarsson was on the 2nd unit. And it will obviously flip-flop that once we make the once the injury is done. But I just think Ragnarsson going on to that top power play makes a lot more sense, obviously, with the injury to Crane. Crane hasn't been insanely good this season in terms of goal scoring, so I'm hoping that he could kind of find himself when he comes back from injury. But if he doesn't, it's not the end of the world because at least he's a good hybrid production player. But a little bit of a rough patch since we made that trade, which is kind of weird because I think it did make us weaker, but I think it also should benefit us down the stretch. Like, obviously, we don't necessarily need to win the President's Trophy this year, but after we made that trade, we literally lost 2 in a row. Then we got a shutout, which is nice. Then we lost 2 more in a row. Then we won a game. Then we lost 2 more in a row. So it's been a rough patch for this team. But like I said, I think in my Albuquerque episode recently, sometimes you want to have those type of seasons where you just don't dominate. You want to have kind of seasons where you have a little bit of rough patches, so then you maybe have a chance to go further in the playoffs. So maybe the trade didn't work out right away, but it will work out probably in the long run, my guess. So let's go to the 12th because this is around when Crane should be back. The good thing is for us is the All-Star break, even though there's no All-Star game, is right around here. So we do have a week in between games where Crane will take to obviously get better, and then he'll be back for this Pittsburgh game, which is nice. So let's go through these 2 games to wrap up the start of February. We win against the Sharks 4-2, and we beat Detroit 3-0. Nicely done. And Crane should be back literally for the next game, right? I think. Or was it later than this? There it is. Awesome. So we'll go back to our lineup here, and like I said, we are going to basically move Haley back down to the 4th line again. We're going to take Sundin out of the lineup here. And we are going to throw in our boy Crane. And sure. And then we're going to move Crane over to there. Move Crane back to the top line. That's all good. And then power play wise, we are going to take Ragnarsson off this top power play. Oh man, geez, the lag is kind of insane sometimes in this game. We're going to take Ragnarsson off the 1st unit. Crane's going to come on in. And then Ragnarsson's going to take back that 2nd power play unit from Crane right here. And that way we have everybody back in their original spots. Perfect. That's good. Awesome. So this is good. We're back to full health. We don't have any injuries right now. Hopefully that stays for the rest of the season because it would be nice to stay healthy for a long time. All right. So 33, 14, and 4 looks like we're starting to win a little bit more games recently. Hopefully that continues here in February. Let's go to the 1st of March. See what we could do in these next few weeks. Pittsburgh's a 6-0 win, so that's back-to-back shutouts. Philadelphia, we lose in a shootout. We do win in a shootout over Seattle. Nashville, Columbus, Utah, and Dallas this week. A little bit of a busy week. Nashville is going to be a 4-3 loss. That's okay. Columbus is a 4-3 win. A lot of 4-3 games as of recently. Literally 5 straight 4-3 games. What the heck? And then we win 6-2 over Dallas. We lose that game to Nashville. Nashville must be good. And then we win in a shootout again there. A lot of shootout games in the last little bit. Extra frame games too, actually, for that matter. But we're 38, 16, and 6. We did beat Anton Frundell in a game in Dallas. We also did lose to them, though, when Anton Frundell returned here. That's one thing I didn't even realize. I'm curious if Frundell had any points in those games. I got to take a look at the box score. I know it's in the season, but I do want to take a look and see if Frundell scored a goal against us. I feel like he probably did, based on that 7-goal game at least. But let's go to the one that was on our home ice first, which I think was at the end of February, it said. Or no, it wasn't at the end of February. It was at the end of January. Because I do want to see if he scored any goals against us. I feel like he probably did because he's one of the better players. But it would have been nice to see him in his return. So let's see. It was on the end of the month, right? It was 29th, I think I saw. Maybe not the 29th. Maybe it's later than that. Oh, there it is. 7-4 loss. Let's take a look at the box score in that game. So, did Frundell score against us? Yes, he did. Lindros also scored against us. Lindros is up to 18 goals, apparently, as of that point. Frundell scored his 14th of the season against us. He also had an assist against us, 2 assists against us. And that was it. So, he had 3 points against us in that game, of course. But that was his first game back in New York. So, of course, he had to show up and do that. But salute to our captain. He got second star of the game in that one. Houghton actually got first star despite the 7-4 loss, which is interesting. So, shout out to that game. And then we also played them in Dallas in February, which I don't remember which day it was, but I want to take a look at the box score on that one too. Trying to see here. There's so many games on this screen that literally it's kind of overwhelming. Like, I feel like they need to maybe do a better job of displaying these box scores. But at least we have box scores because this is kind of one of my favorite things that they added this year to the game. Alright, so where is this game against Dallas? Because I honestly don't remember what date it is. I could go back to the calendar and look, but might add more time to this episode, so. Alright, where is this game? God damn. Oh, there it is. 6-2 win. So, probably he didn't do much against us in this one, I would assume, right? I didn't want to go to the box score on that. Or that part of the screen. I wanted to just go to the box score. So, we went up 5-0. Then Mason Lohrei scored. Frundell did pick up an assist on that goal. So, in 2 games against us, he had 4 points. Which is kind of surprising because his team is not doing too well this season. So we might honestly get a lottery pick because of that, because they are just barely above 500 at the moment. And currently our stats, our penalty kill percentage dropped to 22nd. Okay, that's a pretty substantial change. Our penalty kill was literally 10th when we started this episode. And that was not even that long ago. And we dropped all the way to 22nd. Our power play percentage is also still trash. It is getting a little bit better, but our penalty kill is apparently really bad now. But we are still the second best defensive team despite having bad special teams and the 7th best goals for team. So our 5-on-5 play is fantastic. Our power play and penalty kill is not good. So maybe it'll figure itself out in the playoffs, but right now it's kind of a bit weird this season. All right, let's go to a day before the deadline. I don't think we're going to make, honestly, any more moves still. I think I'm going to probably just run with the rest of this team, so. But we'll see. Maybe we should make a move. I don't know. I know it's not long-term, actually. That's only for like a week. If that was longer term, I would have been like, maybe. But Makinen's been injured with an injured shoulder. I'm going to go replace player on that, I think. Yeah, we'll go replace player on that. But that's still a little bit of a substantial injury, but he should be back literally right after the deadline, which is good. So, does this team need any changes, really, in terms of trades? I don't think so. Obviously, it would be nice to get our special teams being better. But they are getting better after that game, too, apparently. I don't think there's any need to make our special teams better. If our 5-on-5 play is really good, our special teams could find itself in the postseason. So I think we're not going to make any moves this year. Yeah, Solovyov's still rocking a 917. He's still been very good too. So yeah, I think we're going to keep it the same, and we're going to run with this team the rest of the year. Is that going to be an issue down the road? Maybe, but I don't think it is going to be. So we'll take a look and see if there was any interesting deadline deals, though, involving former players. And of course, we suffer an injury. At least it's not till the end of the season or something, but it is out till March 21st. Novoseltsev will be down, so that is going to give Hagman some playing time. But it does suck that Novoseltsev is out. We win that game 3-1. We're just going to go past it. We're not going to make a trade for a defenseman because we don't need to. Washington is going to be a win. Let's see, there's waivers. Ryan Winterton, no thank you. The game against Washington is Mackinnon is returned. Let's get him back in here into our lineup. Jarvis was playing top line center, which he's not even a face-off guy, so that's not ideal, but it is what it is. So let's take Jarvis out, and we'll throw in Mackinnon. Has Haley been a bit of bad defensively? Let's see about his stats. +5, never mind. He's still been good. So we'll keep him still in the lineup. I wasn't too sure if his plus-minus was going to get affected or not. So the question is, what was I going to look at again? Oh, man. I am drawing a blank. I'm really tired because I went to the Sens game literally the day before this video is being recorded. So I'm a little bit tired. I don't really remember what I was going to look. Oh, yeah, the trades at the deadline. My brain just had a complete fart for no reason. So let's take a look and see if any former players got dealt at the deadline or if there was any crazy trades. But let's see. Any former players okay. So Jaskalainen, even though he's been really good in Toronto, he actually got dealt from Toronto for a first-round pick and Bill Irving. St. Louis acquires Jaskalainen. So Jaskalainen is off to the Western Conference, which is interesting. Wasn't expecting him to get dealt this year, but he must have been in the last year of his deal or something like that. So shout out to Jaskalainen joining the Blues. So that's a pretty big one, if I'm not mistaken. Any other players that I used to have get dealt? I do recognize James from Tampa. He gets down to Calgary. Malcolm Spence. Just looking for former guys for the most part. If I recognize them, that is. Nope, nobody else. Interesting. So Jaskalainen's off to the Blues. And we're 41-16-6. Yeah, this team is cruising. Easily, we are going to be a playoff team. But the special teams are the only thing I'm a little worried about. But like I said, I think it'll figure itself out in the playoffs. To have a good 5-on-5 play is a good thing, at least, as that shows that we could play most games really evenly, is what I'm trying to say. God damn. Anyways, let's go to the 24th. Take the rest of the season a little bit slower, but we should easily be able to hit 50 wins this season. There is a chance we could hit more than that, but who knows what's going to happen down the stretch here. We're on a good little winning streak here as of late, and of course I said that, and we literally lost to the Flyers, but that's okay. That's okay. Philadelphia again, can we beat them this time? Yes, we can. Buffalo, we win as well. Novoseltsev is back, so it didn't seem like our team was that bad without Novoseltsev, which is nice to see. We'll throw him back into the lineup, of course. How was Hagman when he was in the lineup? +8 in 9 games with 3 points. That's fantastic. That's exactly what I kind of need from a depth defenseman to come in and just play some rock-solid defense, so I like that a lot. Is everybody okay with their ice time so far on defense? It looks like it, because Schaefer's still an 84. So, looks like we're still okay with the ice time on the offense and defensive side of things. So, we're making it work despite us being a pretty strong team all around. 3 straight 5-2 victories, and then we beat the Rangers 2-1. So, I think Solovyov might have the chance for his second Vezina this year. We're playing some really good defensive hockey. I did see that notification pop up, though. Sundin apparently is losing morale because of ice time because he's scratched, but there is a chance he might get to play some playoff games, depending if we have anybody being a defensive liability in the bottom 6. Game against Columbus coming up. We're on a really big stretch here as of late. Let's see. We lose in a shootout. That's still a point. Philadelphia is a loss in regulation. Montreal is a 7-1 victory. Nice. All right. We probably have already clinched a playoff spot at this point, right? I don't see why not. Yeah, we've already clinched the playoff spot. Nice. With 3 weeks to go, 2 on the season. 48-18-7. The most we could probably finish the season off with is probably just under 60 wins, which is nice. But I don't know if I want to win every single game down the stretch, though, either. Like, I do want Solovyov to win the Vezina, but At the same time, I do not want this team to oversimulate so much that we're going to be a first-round exit too. So let's go another week. Washington, New York, and Buffalo. Washington is going to be a 5-2 loss. The Rangers are going to be a 2-1 shootout win, so a little bit of a low-scoring game. Buffalo is a 4-3 loss. All right. Let's go another week. We actually have a back-to-back with Toronto this week, which is interesting. We also play Utah and New Jersey. Utah, who we sent Ellington to, is going to be a 7-3 victory. New Jersey's a 4-1 win. Back-to-back against Toronto without Jääskeläinen, 1-0 loss and a 5-4 win. All right. 52-21 and 7. Looks like we've already clinched our division. We might have clinched the Eastern Conference. Yeah, we definitely clinched the Eastern Conference. No team even remotely close to us in the East. Like, we're literally 20 points up on the Maple Leafs, who are first place in the Atlantic, and traded Jääskeläinen for some reason. Why did they trade Jääskeläinen if they're first place in the Atlantic Division? Why? I honestly don't understand that. But maybe that trade was a lateral move for both teams. Like, St. Louis is in the playoffs as well. They've actually clinched a playoff spot. So maybe the Leafs actually got a good player that actually works right now and a first rounder. I'm not too sure. But interesting there. But yeah, no team in the Eastern Conference is remotely close to us because we're also a lot of points up on the Blue Jackets. So we are primed for a first round exit based on that. We are also the second best team in the league. We're not going to catch our third best team in the league, actually. We're not going to catch up to Seattle. We're not going to catch up to the Kings. So at least we won't win the President's Trophy this year. But let's go through Washington and Pittsburgh here. Our last two games of the regular season, both on home ice. Washington, we've played a lot as of recently, is going to be a 5-4 overtime victory. And Pittsburgh, to wrap up the year, is another 1-0 loss. So our offense didn't show up in 2 of those last 4 games, which is interesting. But we do finish 53-22 and 7, the best team in the Eastern Conference and the third best team in the NHL, only behind Seattle and LA. All right. So there is that. The question is, how do we finish off in terms of everything this season? So let's go to... let's actually hide this because I do want to just keep the team leaders and stuff like that to a little bit of a surprise because I don't want to see who led us in points and all that yet. I do not want to see. All right, so we're on to the standings. Let's take a look at where we finished in the entire league in terms of stuff. So we are third place in the entire NHL, like I said, and by far the best team in the Eastern Conference by 10 points. So does that make us a favorite this year if we're the best team in the East but not the best team in the NHL? And then in terms of goals for per game, let's see how good our offense was. It was 4th best in the NHL, only behind the Kings, the Kraken, and the Blackhawks. So the top 4 teams in the NHL were the top best offensive teams. It's kind of weird, though. Detroit was the 5th best offensive team in the NHL, but they finished 26th in the NHL. So that team allowed a lot of goals. In terms of goals against per game, we are the 2nd best defensive team, only behind the LA Kings. So likely Kolzig for the Kings is going to end up winning the Vezina, but Solovyov is definitely a finalist for it, I would say, based on that alone. So that's interesting. In terms of power play percentage, like I said, our special teams kind of struggled this season, but it looks like the power play might have picked it up again near the end. It does finish, I'd say, top 15 in the NHL, so that's not terrible. Penalty kill percentage, 82.7. That might have picked itself up again as well as the season went on, but it still wasn't a bright spot. So our special teams, hopefully they find themselves in the playoffs, but that's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. We did have 9 shorthanded goals, though, which was tied for the second most amount in the league, so at least we're scoring shorthanded. 29-11-1 on home ice, 24-11-6 on the road, 6-4 in our last 10 games. All right, not too bad. Now the question is, who led us in points this season? The answer is going to be the captain, Crane. Of course it's going to be. 77 points. I'm surprised he still led us in points because he did miss games due to injury. So I wonder if Howden is still a Norris favorite this year or not. Because usually if Howden led us in points, I would say, hey, he's definitely going to win the Norris, but maybe not. But it looks like it was a good year for Crane, so that is good to see. So I'm going to hide again every stat here. I'm going to close my eyes and change it over by position so we can kind of get surprised here. And I'm trying not to look at all, just try and get the menu open. There you go, centers, and let me look down so I'm not looking at anything, and boom. All right, so for our centers, Mäkinen, 73 points in 80 games, 30 goals, 43 assists. Another really good year for Mäkinen. Obviously, he missed 2 games due to injury, but he was fantastic again. Not the most insane point totals, but still really good. Obviously, not as good as a few years back when he had 100 points, but he's still been very consistent for his team. And he usually does really well for us in the playoffs as well. So excited to see what he could do this year. We had Bjorkstrand on 65 points, 34 goals. So Bjorkstrand continues to be a little bit more of a disappointment. I mean, this is a good year, but he's not as elite as he looks, I would say. Definitely a better season for him than last year, though, because last year it was more concerning. This year, he got back up to his 30-goal range and stuff like that, but he hasn't been able to get to that 70-point total in a while again. So hopefully he has a good playoffs ahead of him, and at least he was fully healthy this season. Leahy on 62 points, so that's why I brought back Leahy. It was a bit of a controversial re-signing because of his cap hit and all that, but I think the salary cap hit and the fact that we could still trade him to teams isn't that bad, so we could still definitely move on from him if we need the money. But he definitely showed that he is one of our better players, and he was really good on the power play too. But he's still getting better and better every single year. So good stuff from Leahy. Hopefully he has a better playoffs than last year, though, because obviously in the playoffs last year he was kind of quiet. We had Giordano on 60 points. A little bit of a low-scoring season for Gio. A little bit low-scoring. He is making only $10 million, which isn't as bad, but he's also kind of dropping a little bit in production. Maybe some of these guys' numbers are dropping just because the entire team is producing better, so maybe that's why. I'm not going to complain too much, though, on 60 points. I think our depth scoring is what's mostly impressive on this roster. And then Haley, who we brought in as a kind of a depth option, ended up becoming a regular on this roster when we traded out Ellington. Very solid numbers, 26 points in 55 games, plus 9. I don't know if he'll play in the playoffs fully. It depends really if he ends up being a defensive liability, but he definitely shows that he could be a very solid offensive player in a bottom 6 type of role. So good stuff from him. He did play out playoff games last year with Seattle too, or actually 3 years ago, I should say, with Seattle. So does have some playoff experience, which is good. Korolyuk on 26 points. Korolyuk continues to get better with this roster, so that's also good. He doubled up his points from last year, so yeah, he's at least starting to find his offensive game a little bit. He's still not a crazy offensive player, but as long as he can play respectable defensively, he's not too bad. From a left wing perspective, what do we got here? Crane on the 77 points, 29 goals, 48 assists. Not a huge goal scoring season for our captain, but he was good. He is making a bit more money than I'd like to say, but he's on that no movement clause, and I still think he's just a very good leader to have here. I think he'll also find himself in the playoffs because last year he had 29 points in 20 games. I definitely could see him doing really good this postseason for us, so he kind of makes a good living on both the penalty kill and on the power play. 6 shorthanded points this year for him out of our 9 shorthanded goals. So Karain can do it all. Sealfito, 7 goals only, but he's a playmaker. 58 points. Great year from Ross. I'm really liking to see that. He is still also a pending RFA, I think, at the end of the season. So we are going to probably have to pay him a good chunk of money. He's definitely worth a good chunk, I'd say. But I'm not too sure on where we want to be with money. Like, I could see him asking for like 8 million plus as well. So if that is the case, we might have to move out from Leahy depending on the cap situation just to get Sealfito re-signed long term. If we want him signed long term, which I think we probably do, but I'm not too sure. Ragnarsson on 46 points in 66 games. Obviously, he missed a lot of games due to injury, but he was still really solid. Not as good as he was last year in 41 games, but 87 points in 107 regular season games is really good. Hopefully, he has a better playoffs, though, because he was a little bit quiet last year in the postseason. So, shout out to Ragnarsson. 1 more year left on his ELC. And then Bigger's 31 points, plus 22. That's really good for a guy in a third-line role. I like it. Aside from that, our right wingers, we have Neil Kynan, 39 points, 21 goals. Did get some power play time down the stretch. Didn't do too much on our power play, to be honest, but still did okay. Still a good season from him. He's listed as a second-line forward, so yeah, he's not liking his ice time right now. So there is a chance we might still have to trade away Neil Kynan in the offseason because I can't get him into that top 6. There's just no way, at least that I could see it at the moment. Aside from that, Ulanov, 18 points in his rookie season, including 13 goals plus 12. That's really solid from him. Only shot the puck 105 times, so to have 13 goals is nice. Sundin on 3 points in 4 games as a depth option is good as well. He was also losing morale due to ice time, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. Jarvis played 2 games, had no points. From a defensive standpoint, how was Houghton? 69 points and a plus 38. Is that enough for a Norris Trophy? I don't think it is in terms of offense, but his plus minus might give him a higher chance. Hard to say, because there was some good defensemen getting points and stuff like that this season, so I don't know if he will win it, but I hope he does, because obviously if he does, that will be another one to add to his trophy cabinet. That would be his 4th straight, so we'll see if he gets able to do it. Tatar also had a very good year, very good plus minus, 45 points as well, and a plus 48. And then Schaefer has found himself back again defensively, which is nice, 21 points plus 23. Haken had a pretty good rookie year. 11 goals, 18 points, plus 25. Holmstrom only 16 points and a plus 4. Holmstrom's kind of an interesting one. He's only 19, so I can't really complain too much. But him and Haken were drafted in the same year. And the thing is, Haken just had a solid rookie season. Very solid rookie season. Holmstrom's not found himself fully offensively yet. Like, he was on the second line power play. And, yeah, he only had 5 goals and 16 points, which is less points than his rookie year. If you compare his rookie year, though, to Haken's, it's pretty much identical, though. So, we'll see what Haken could do next year, but Haken could potentially push Holmstrom out off our team. But the thing with Holmstrom, at least, is he's a right-handed defenseman, which are a bit more premium, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. Novoselicev, 12 points in 75 games, plus 12, not too bad. Not a crazy season offensively for him, but obviously he's a DFD. And it is better than his rookie season last year, so shout out to him. He's getting a little bit more physical, though, which is not necessarily great, but I'll definitely take it. And I think he's got one more year left on his ELCs, so yeah, there's some guys that we're definitely going to have to pay a lot of money to soon. Hegman, 3 points in 9 games, as I was mentioning before, plus 8 is really good to see as a depth defenseman. Didn't really expect too much out of him. And he definitely delivered really well defensively. Hopefully he does that as well in the playoffs if he gets to play any games. From a goaltending perspective, how was Solovyov? A .916 save percentage in a 2.35 goals against. You know, if he's playing this good in the regular season, there's a chance his playoffs are going to look abysmal, but maybe not. So a very strong season from our goaltender. How much years does he have left again? 2 more years. At least he has 2 more years. Okay, good. But a really good season from Solovyov. That is his best season of his NHL career at this point. He has been very good 3 of the last 4 years. I would say this year he was solid too, but it wasn't as good as the years after that. His goals against it was the best of his career as well. Did he have any assists this year? No, he did not. But a very good season from him in the regular season. Hopefully he builds up on that in the playoffs this year too, because last year he was really good in the playoffs. So he's been starting to trend in the right direction, which is nice. And then Letowski is a backup. We could have probably upgraded this backup position if we really wanted to, but I don't think it was worth it. Letowski definitely had a rough time this year by comparison to last year. Did play a lot more games with us this year, but yeah, an 892 is not ideal. So there's our player stats. Let's take a look at stats around the entire NHL, see who led the NHL in points. We didn't have anybody that was over point per game this year, though, so despite being an okay offensive team, we definitely didn't have a super stud player in terms of goal scoring. So who led the league in points? 125 points from Connor Bedard. Damn. And Guerin had 118 for the Rangers. Of course he did. Frank Nazar 115. Wallace, who used to play with us, which is insane, 105 points because he was playing next to Guerin. And then you also have Bull in Chicago with 101. So Chicago, the Rangers, Nashville as well with Foy and Semyonov. Both looking really good, so we got to watch out for teams like that for sure. Best goal scorer of the season is going to be Guerin as well. He's the only 80 goal scorer of the season. He scored over a goal per game this season. God damn. The next closest person was Bedard with 59, Hakkarainen with 54, and Bouwmeester with 51. Damn, that's insane. An 83 goal season when there's not even that much 50 goal scorers is crazy. Yeah, Guerin is definitely one of those big threats in our division. Like, if we end up having to play against the Rangers, we're going to have to run through this guy. So, damn, yeah, this guy's insane. 24 power play goals. Jeez. 4 short-handed goals, too. This guy plays every single time, too. God damn. What's his awards looking like at this point? I don't even know. He's won a Stanley Cup in 2034. Won a Conn Smythe that same year. Won the Lindsay recently. And then he also won the Calder back a decade ago. And he's making just under $20 million. But I'd say he's worth every penny for the Rangers at that point. Like, he signed still for 6 more years, too. I'd say he's definitely worth that money because he scores 83-plus goals and over 110 points. So there is the forward stuff. What about defensively? Did Houghton have a chance to win another Norris? The answer is yes. But they might give it to Mercier. They might give it to Mercier just because Mercier had 1 less point and was +1 better. I swear if they give it to Mercier, I'm going to be kind of a little bit pissed off because I think Houghton should get it. But it's very close with those two guys. There's also a chance for Salmelainen, our former defenseman, to win it, but I don't think he will. He had a really good season, 67 points. But he was only +5. Korchinski was up there too. But to me, it's definitely between Mercier and our boy. If Mercier, like I said, wins it, though, that will be kind of disappointing. He had 19 goals, so that also could give him an edge, but I'm not too sure. How good was this guy last year, though? Because I don't think I've seen him up there before. 60 points last year, 49. Just starting to come out as a good defenseman. Wow, 26 points last year when they won the Stanley Cup. That's actually pretty impressive for a defenseman. Wow, okay. Wait, he was drafted a decade ago, too. And he's got a clause kicking in. That's interesting. I wonder if Houghton wins it or if they give it to Mercier. Mercier definitely deserves one at some point in his career, but I would like to see Houghton win another. So there is that. What about the best goalie in terms of wins? Kolzig in LA, 47 wins. Goddamn. Most shutouts. Legwand, Dubnyk, and Bergfors, and also a couple other guys, Kalinin, Gardner, Pronger, Nevins, and Solovyov, all with 5. Goddamn. That's a lot of goalies with 5 shutouts. Best save percentage by a starter is going to be Dubnyk with a 915 and Kolzig with a 914. Actually, no, Solovyov's right there too. I almost forgot about our boy. These 3 guys are going to be competing for the Vezina. I think they might give it to Kolzig because of more wins, and more games started. Solovyov might have started 2 little games. And then goals against per game. Solovyov was the best. So, who do you guys think wins the Vezina? Solovyov has the best save percentage, best goals against average, but he started the least amount of games. You have Kolzig, who had the most amount of wins in the NHL, had a worse save percentage and a worse goals against, not by much. And then you have Dubnyk, who had a solid save percentage, not a solid goals against, also had the same amount of wins as Solovyov, but played 4 more games. Interesting. It's definitely going to be a close race. Any goalie goals this season? No goalie goals this season. Most assists is 5 assists from Bergfors and Prindis. All right. Best rookie this season in terms of points. Donovan McMuffin, 46 points. Shishkinov up there, 44. Klassen with 40. All right. So there is all that. The question now is, who are we playing in the first round of playoffs? And are we going to be primed up to get cheesed? Or are we going to actually have a chance to maybe win a cup this year? Let's see. It will be a matchup with the Philadelphia Flyers. Oh boy. Philadelphia has been an intriguing team over the last little while. I'm pretty sure it was in this franchise mode, correct? I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, they've won a Stanley Cup recently, too. And they did have former players on their team, but they did lose Kasivi to free agency, I think, last offseason, so that might be a little bit different. But in terms of regular season comparison, if we do want to get cheesed, this is the series to get cheesed in. we had obviously a record of 53, 22, and 7. They had a record of 40, 34, and 8. They were 17th in goals for per game, 19th in goals against, 4th on the power play, and 20th on the penalty kills. So they're pretty much carried by their power play unit based on that. Everything else looks kind of mid, or pretty bad, I would say. But let's take a look at their lines, and then we'll take a look at their player stats throughout the season too. But we've definitely played Philadelphia recently, and I know they had former players at that point. I'm not too sure who else is still there, though. I would say Sierra's definitely there. Kasivi's gone. Osgood could be still there because I don't think I've seen him in the free agent department, so there's probably still some former players. But this is their team. Top line, Eli Burkholz, William Eklund, Matvey Mishkov. Very solid top line, despite this team not being good during the season. Second line has Cole Newberry, Parker Reimer, Caleb Odeline. Yeah, they might actually still be a really good team. Like, the record definitely is lower than this roster should be. So I kind of feel like we could get cheese because of that. But also I feel like our team is strong enough that they could definitely fight this off. Third line has Justin Humphrey, as well as Caleb Desnoyers and Nicholas Berry. And a fourth line of Riley Boychuk, Norm Jovanovski, and Cole Baudouin. All right. So very top six heavy. Maybe a little bit not with Desnoyers as a third line center, but yeah, that's an interesting forward group. Defensively, there is Jonathan Sierra, former defenseman. He's just coming back from injury. How was he this year? 18.78 games plus 7. Not as strong as last year, but he's still been pretty good. So shout out to Sierra, former first rounder of ours. He's still playing with Healy, who's there still. Cartier Kemchek on the second unit with Alphonse Frige. They also have Gail Montador. Walker Osgood is dropped off a bit due to morale. He's down to a 76. And this season, he only had 9 points in 81 games after 30 points in his rookie year. So a bit of a tough year for Walker Osgood. Probably because of morale mostly. But yeah, oh man, and he's getting paid $5.58 million to be a top 6 defenseman. When they should be probably moving him up and moving somebody like Freeze down. I'm not too sure, but Osgood and Sierra are still there long haul. Goaltending wise, they have Devin Levi as an 80 overall. And then they also have Xander Springus. Was Springus there last year or no? Because I feel like I've played Springus in the playoffs, but I don't... Oh, it was with Philly. Yeah, was. Okay. They definitely won a cup, though, recently, right? Doesn't say Devin Levi won one. What about... or maybe they never won a cup. Maybe they just had some good seasons. Let's see. Odeline. No, maybe they didn't win a cup. Okay. I thought they won a Stanley Cup in this universe, but I guess they just won far. Because Michkov's never won one either. Alright, what about Scratched? Justin Sordiff, Dustin Cope, and Elias Kerslake. Alright. So I definitely think we have the better team on paper. Obviously, they have a lot of stud players, but the one thing that worries me is just their record, because their record, to me, should have been at least 45-plus wins, but they finished with only 40. So they barely made it into the playoffs, and now they're taking on a team like us that has a really good roster. Won 13 more games. Like, I feel like we could get potentially cheese because of that. So, final things we got to take a look at. Let's take a look at their player stats from the season as well. And then we'll take a look at that playoff tree as well. Just to see who else is playing each other. But, let's see. So, Odeline had 82 points this year for them. Let's actually just go by forwards to start. Reimer, 76. Desnoyers. Looks like they have some pretty solid depth scoring. But, yeah, the plus-minus, definitely a huge issue with some of these players on their team. So maybe it isn't the scoring that's really the issue. It's just more the defensive play. And then, yeah, from a defensive standpoint, they had an unpairing do okay, which was the top pairing. Sierra was the best defenseman in terms of plus-minus on the team, but a lot of guys didn't play good defensively on that defensive core. And then from a goalie perspective, a 909 from Levi is pretty solid. Springus had an 891 as a backup, so, I still kind of feel a little bit iffy going up against them. Like, I feel like our team definitely could beat them, but also we could get completely dominated for no reason. So, there is that. Let's take a look at the playoff tree. Just see who is facing who. And then that'll be it for this episode. So, this is the playoff tree for this 2040 season. Obviously, it's going to be Columbus in the Rangers, us in Philadelphia, Ottawa, Buffalo, Toronto, Washington. And then in the Western Conference, you got LA, Vancouver, Seattle, Vegas, St. Louis, Chicago, and Colorado and Winnipeg. So a lot of pretty good teams, I think, in this playoff mix because we've played Columbus recently in the playoffs. The Rangers have Guerin, which is going to be a scary thing if we have to play against Guerin at some point. Ottawa, I don't remember how good they are. I think they got to a conference finals recently too, right? Like, I think we played them in the conference finals at one point. Buffalo, I'm pretty sure, has been decent in the series recently, but they haven't won a Stanley Cup, I think. Maybe they have. Toronto has been an okay team at points. Other times, not so much. They did offload Jaskalainen, though. Washington, not too sure on. And then in the West, obviously, the Kings had a really good season this year. They could be a first-round exit, though. Vancouver, I honestly don't know. Vegas, don't know. Seattle, I think, has been good recently. Chicago's got Connor Bedard. St. Louis has just brought in Jaskalainen from Toronto. Winnipeg, I'm not too sure on, and then Colorado still has guys like Salmelainen and all that used to play with us. So some decent teams in the mix. Hopefully this is the year that this team can find a way to win a Stanley Cup because we're kind of running out of time to win a Stanley Cup. We do have obviously a lot of good weapons on our roster and in our prospect pool though, so I think we could easily keep making the playoffs, but to win a Stanley Cup is going to take a lot of work. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the first round of the playoffs against the Philadelphia Flyers as we look to beat them and hopefully not look back at all. Like I said, the Flyers look like a cheese team, so I'm a little bit worried. But if we beat them, maybe that will just give the team the momentum it needs. Like I said, we need our special teams to be better this playoff run as well. So that's one thing. If our special teams aren't doing good and if our 5-on-5 play falls off a cliff at all, that's where we're getting to a little bit of dangerous territory, but I think we're definitely the favorite in the East, considering we were the best team in the East during the season. But if we somehow find ourselves in a finals this year, and LA is still in the playoffs, they might be a very tough matchup to go up against. So it will be interesting to see how long this team could go for. Obviously, Solovyov also had a really good season too, so I really want him to play good again this season too in the playoffs. Because if he obviously goes back to his old ways again, then that's also going to be a bit problematic. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.